Hey guys. Hey team. This is my first time using a school platform, so I'm hoping that you can see me. If you can give thumbs up or even turn your cameras on and unmute yourself and just give me a hello so I know that you're there. Hey. Fair question, Jackie. The camera right down the bottom, there's a little thing for a video, so you just kind of click that. I can't even see you, Claire, so I don't know. This might be a learning experience for all of us. Jeez Louise. 10. Hi, Rachel. Welcome. Claire, I'm going to use you as a guinea pig to turn your camera on, maybe. I don't know if I can do that for you. So we're waiting on a few more, but we're going to kick off. I just want to make sure this is as interactive as possible because I don't want you guys to have to listen to me for a whole hour just talking to a screen. Oh, there she is. Hey, Claire, how are you? I can't hear you. I think you're still on mute. If you unmute yourself, is that all right? This session will be it's a little hang on, let me see if I can turn off video. No, allow audio. Try that. Still muted, Claire. Don't know. That's all right. We might just all be using the chat tonight. This might be rogue, and then next week we might go into a different meeting link. If everyone feels comfortable, it would be awesome if you could all turn on your cameras so we can all see your beautiful faces. The motto of this is kind of like a collective or a team, so that then we can all kind of, shared experience of us working in a clinic room. And it is much better if it is interactive. So I'm hoping you guys can hear and see each other. Don't worry, Rachel, if you're on a train, you keep that the way. Yeah, guys, I don't know about this. Curious questions. All right. Maybe we're just going to roll with the chat and we'll have a silent meeting. So odd. But what I wanted to do is welcome you all to our very first Pain Collective. Now, I'm going to share my screen quickly while we kind of work out this audio stuff. This here, can everyone write in the chat where you're from and I can read them out for you? Oh, I could hear someone. Who was that?
Might be me.
Oh, hello. What's your name?
Hello, Jackie. I'm from Benalla.
Oh, hey, Jackie. Where are you? If Jackie can teach us all how to unmute, even if we can't see you, I would hear all.
Okay, so it wasn't there the whole time, but there's like a microphone at the bottom now, like next to the red end call button.
Yep.
And I kind of just fiddled around with that and it came on.
Great. I have tried to allow it for everyone, so I'm hoping that does the trick. But what I would love to do is we're going to go around the room and just introduce yourself. Where are you from? What are you hoping to get out of tonight? And also to what kind of setting are you working in? Because I'm mindful we might have physios, osteos, chiros, EPs, heaps of different kind of clinicians here today. So Jackie, can I throw you under a bus? Do you want to start?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry, you can't see me. I can't figure out the camera. I'm from Benalla. I work as a lymphedema practitioner in Wangaratta on a couple of days a week. And on the another couple of days a week, I work in public health at Benalla Hospital, so small regional rural hospital really, in a bit of a generalist role. So a bit of acute ward, a bit of musk, a bit of aged care, a bit of everything.
All of the stuff. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Dana's in Aberdeen in Scotland. Woo. Rachel's in Gippsland. So we've got some Aussies and Scott. Gosh, Dana, do you want to fix this for me? Scottish person? Where else is everyone from? What kind of areas are you guys working in if you can't unmute your camera or unmute? I'm happy to read out chat. Claire, have you sorted out your muting thing? Oh, guys, this might be the roguest session ever. I can hopefully talk for Claire. Works as a Scully physio in Melbourne and Geelong, and also works at the clinic I work at Move, and works a lot with persistent pain clients on the daily. Yeah. Claire and I also come from public health, and we've just kind of transitioned into Musk. And I've kind of found my way into persistent pain just because it seems like working with clinical Pilates clients or any clients, it seems like this is where most people get stuck, is kind of been my experience. Has anyone else, what other settings are other people working in before we jump in? Rachel works in regional hospital, outpatient and women's health. Awesome. Dana, what do you do, or what kind of setting are you working in? Mask and outpatients. Awesome. So we're all quite similar. What we're going to do tonight is this session is generally about an hour, but most of the time it's pretty interactive. So if the interactive flops, then what we can do is we can whip through the content in, say, about 30 minutes. But I might make it, instead of it being a session where we chat to each other, it actually might be a session where we force reflection for you guys. So if everyone can I'm old school, so everyone can get a piece of paper and a pen. And we are going to go through different questions where I want to prompt conversation or thought with each other or yourself. So just so you guys can share my screen, for full disclosure, I completed the Pain Revolution. So in Australia, we've got these awesome crew at Uni of South Australia, and they... I'm hoping you guys can see this screen here. They have a thing called a local pain collective. And each year, some people across Australia will get a grant to learn more about persistent pain. And then we do these things where we give back to the community. So this is one of my ways of giving back. And we create a local pain collective. So just to acknowledge where we're from in Australia, we've got lots and lots of different Indigenous owners of the land, and what I'm standing, or lucky enough to be standing, on the lands of the Wadawurrung people. And Pain Revolution is very keen on us acknowledging where we're from, and also to the diverse and complex nature that is Australia and Australia's history. So the context for this session is that we've received a scholarship from the Pain Revolution to do this pain certificates course. I will be online for ages, and I'm also happy to set up another session where you can actually ask me questions. This course was awesome. It was a pain certificates course, so it was kind of like a grad cert. It went for 6 to 12 months. And that sounds a bit scary, but it actually wasn't. It was really practical, and I could apply the learnings in the clinic. So this course was awesome. They've also tried to make it pretty low entry so that if you did it as an Aussie fee paying student, I think it would cost you about $3,000. I don't know how much it would cost you, Dana, being from Scotland, but hey, look, it was an awesome course. I'm hoping I can teach you some of the learnings tonight. But what we want to do is we're going to go through, and over each couple of weeks, we're going to explore an essential pain fact. Essentially, this has been based off a lot of work that Lorimer Mosley and his Pain Revolution team did by going out and getting a consensus statement from people who've had pain, people who've worked in pain, scientists and researchers, and also a lot of clinicians. So they did this massive, massive, massive amount of work during COVID. And what they came up with is that they came up with these 9 key learning modules about pain. Now, for you guys working in Musk, this website is dynamite. It's also too, if my language is a bit bogan, just please put your hand up and I'll go back to the chat to make sure. When I say dynamite, I mean this resource is unbelievable. So in another screen while you're listening, it's called Pain Revolution, and there are these really clear and easy digestible things. They've gone through a marketing agency and a marketing term to give really clear and really simple language for our clients and also clinicians that you work with. So the whole reason about Pain Revolution is to get to as many clinicians as possible so we can level each other up, collaborate, and then help our clients a little bit more understand pain. So that's kind of where this came from. Over the next 4 sessions, we're going to go through the first 4 pain facts. That's what Pain Revolution are keen to do, but I'm here to make this as potent and as helpful for you guys. So this is like a 6-week free course. Feedback is really important. If you want to bring really tricky clinical cases over the next session and we break it down using these frameworks, I'm all for that, as long as it helps level up your skills and helps you with your clients. But tonight, we're just going to go through the first one, which is pain is always real. And we're going to go through this in detail, kind of about some of the different ways that we can explain pain. So that's kind of our pain facts. Oh, yeah, go for it. Sorry if someone had a question.
Sorry, I think I've just worked out my mic. Is it working?
Oh!
Sorry,
does anyone else have any other questions while Claire's sorted out her mic? Has anyone else gotten their tech sorted?
I think you just got to go to your browser settings at the top.
The top one. Okay, thank you. Awesome. So before we start, I don't know, these guys get a lot of, they're in the literature a lot. So the International Association of Pain, so the IASP, they define pain as 3 categories. And I can't see your hands, but I'd say hands up who's kind of heard of these. If everyone kind of wants to give me the thumbs up, the thumbs down, I'll go through the chat like a yes, no. Has anyone heard of these? We've got nociceptive, neuropathic, and nociplastic. Yep, awesome. So interestingly enough, the definitions, and this is what the ISP have as their definitions. So, I don't really want to read these out, but you guys can read them on the screen. So nociceptive pain, I always think of this as a nail in the foot. Pain that arises from actual threatened or damage to a non-neural tissue. Again, a lot of these are still not set in stone, and there's lots of academics arguing over them. Nociceptive pain is pain that arises. Oh, so we've gone through that one. We would also then say neuropathic and nociplastic. I think neuropathic is gone. Now, Pain Revolution actually doesn't like us thinking about these in standalones. What they want us to do is instead of it being a pain problem and giving them, hey, this person has come in with nociceptive pain, because pain is so complex, they actually want it to say, instead of it being clinically problematic and categorizing it, they want it to be smushed so that they're contributors to pain. So Lorimer's argument is that all pain can be all things, and all pain always, no matter what it's trying to do, is trying to protect from damage. It's not indicative of damage, but it's trying to protect our body from damage. When I learned this, it was a lot different to what I'd learned at uni, and it was a lot different to what I'd learned during my master's. So it was kind of a bit of a gear shift, but it has actually helped me think about pain in a bit more of a fluid way. So even if a guy came in with an acute ankle, instead of me just thinking, oh yeah, he's just got nociceptive pain, if it was a work cover injury, it might be quite acute. He might have a new baby at home, and he also might have had some form of peripheral neuropathy because he had diabetes. I could start to think about his pain's just more he's got more complex pain, and he could have all 3 of these at the same time. Now, that's one example. Lorimer would even go further to say that everyone has most of these contributors at the same time to all pain. Does anyone have any questions about that? Because that was really strange for me to learn. No. Other important diagnostic categories. This again is if someone's a literature or a research buff. I don't think about this clinically. But it's still something if we're comparing apples with apples when we're starting to research or learn about pain. Chronic primary pain, there's no clear underlying condition that adequately accounts for the pain or its impact. And a chronic secondary pain is there is a clear link to underlying condition. So, example, osteoarthritis. These are the familiar, it's still important for us to know so that when we are reading literature, we know what exactly they're talking about. Chronic primary pain, that might have gone back into more noisoplastic pain, or I would call it now like just a sensitive system. So we're going to go through tonight the pain protects us and promotes healing. These lecture slides have been provided by Pain Revolution, but I've tweaked them a bit to make it a bit more clinically relevant for you guys who are experienced in the clinical setting. I want us to pause and reflect, and you can either say it out loud or write it on a piece of paper. Can you please write down the most challenging thing about dealing or working with someone who lives with persistent pain? And no balls, like just go for it. Maybe just scratch a few bits and pieces on your piece of paper. I'll repeat the question. The most challenging thing working with someone who has persistent pain. I feel like I should have elevator music. Great. Is anyone willing to share their most challenging thing?
I'll go if you like, Jess.
Yeah.
I said people with really fixed pain beliefs.
Yep. And go for it.
Don't know, you're right.
What do you find challenging about them?
Just trying to, behavior change, I guess.
Yep. Awesome.
Yep.
Does anyone else want to share this?
Just maybe the time it takes to really get them on board with treatment.
Yeah.
They might have tried a million different things in the past, and not come to the party so quickly.
Yes. And there's really good research about dosage in pain education. Do you know, you guys, it actually takes 420 minutes of time. I'm mindful Dana's in the NHS, but she probably doesn't have that time with clients to actually shift some sticky beliefs. And not even then, it's only to change catastrophizing beliefs, not all of the other ones. So no, that is fair. Does anyone else want to share theirs?
I'll go. I can't get my video working.
Sorry, I didn't talk to you.
Yeah, I got it working before, but I'll play around with some things.
Oh, mate, this place is new to us all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, are we doing soon?
No,
Yeah, so I find like the depressive mood hard.
Yep.
Which is fair enough then, like they've got a lot going on. But I also find it quite overwhelming, like, because they're just like, oh, this is in pain, this is in pain, this is in pain. So like I just don't know where to start or where to progress. So then the mood and then just all the pain, it's just like everything's just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consuming and then they live in chaos. I don't know, I feel like that happens quite
Yeah. So it's like, okay, we'll start on this thing, but then it's hard to get the ball rolling, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, definitely. No, I think these are really good. Jack, I think Dana said that the environment. Oh, sorry. So time, the environment to have difficult conversations and lack of potential, knowledge and explaining pain. That brings us, thank you, Dana, nicely, is the next question I want you guys to reflect on is what tools do you have to address these issues? What are your strategies for changing sticky beliefs fixed beliefs, how do you talk to people about pain? So happy for you to write this down on a piece of paper. I'll probably make the question a little bit clearer. How do you introduce pain as a concept to these tricky clients? And just jot it down. I won't ask you these ones first because I think we'll talk to these at the end. And I want to see, I'm curious if after this lecture if this is going to change. My strategy, for full disclosure, for dealing with this was a long time ago. I thought if I just worked in sports and high performance, I wouldn't have to deal with persistent pain. So I tried to, I'm not proud of this, but I tried to escape it by changing populations. And I was very disappointed to know that athletes probably had more chronic pain and more persistent pain patterns and more fixed beliefs than normal population. So if someone is looking to do that as a shift, then probably wouldn't recommend it. All right. So I think that the people in the room are generally going to acknowledge that pain protects us from danger. Is that a fair assumption to make? Even just like a quick yes would be fine. Is it? Or pain doesn't equal damage. Are we all happy to kind of go through that? Yeah, awesome. Great. This lecture was made for a lot of GPs who didn't believe that. So we're going to flick over a few stuff. But I do like this diagram. This is called the Twin Peaks model. This is quickly going to answer some of the ways that I might introduce these tricky or hard concepts. The thing that I personally struggle with the most is if someone has a low health literacy and I'm not very patient, often that's when I find it really hard. If someone's educated and motivated, education is really powerful. But where I really struggle is if I have to work super hard to change my education to be a level that is kind of like on the same level as what the patient's understanding is. And I can't imagine what it's like, Dana, working in the NHS. I know in public health in Australia, we do have lots of clients from lower socioeconomic factors with lower health literacy, and also too at Barwon, where Claire and I work in the public system, it's actually sometimes a free service, so they don't have a lot of skin in the game. And sometimes that is also really quite a tricky thing as well. But so we're going to go over some models and then we're going to go through the pain mechanisms model. This, I'm hoping, is not going to be too dry for you, but I strongly believe that if you guys can understand the complexity of pain and you can start to explain it to your colleagues, you'll start with practice to be able to titrate this down to anybody's level of pain understanding. And we know that if someone can understand that pain doesn't equal damage and that their system is just sensitized, not just, but their system is sensitized and it is not their fault, if they can understand that big concept and pain is not all in their head, it's a nervous system response, then often that's the kicker that opens the door that then starts to let them to do some changes in their beliefs, their behaviors, and also to their perceptions of their pain, which moves the needle a lot. So this is called the Twin Peaks model. Normally, we have tissue tolerance. This is superhuman effort if I'm right up at the top of the mountain. And then if I'm climbing up the mountain, this is when you start to get protected by pain. There's this buffer here. And then this is where the tissue actually breaks. And then often, if we're right up at the top of the mountain, I always think of that guy who chewed off his own arm or sawed off his own arm in the 120 Days. Sorry, you know that terrible movie? But sorry, tangent. But that guy actually, if it's catastrophic or life-altering, often we don't get pain as a danger signal because it's no longer helpful to protect us. So this is, pain is a safety buffer. It's preventing us from further injury. When we have, and this is a normal relationship, the old view of pain is this is kind of what I got taught at uni. You have an injury, you have a pain message, it goes up your spinal cord, and then your brain says the pain senses fire. Oh, I have pain in my toe. This is what the old pain gate theory was based off, and it was one tract that had one message at one time. But in the joy, as we've learnt more, we know that the system is not that simple. And this buffer that they talk about here, this can change immediately, can change so quickly. And that's because our system is so sensitive. If anyone wants to read this, it's a very dry read, but it's very informative. This has come straight out of the Explain Pain Supercharged. And this is the neurotag model that Lorimer Moseley and the NOI group talk a lot about. I'm trying to get for you guys coming today a reduced rate to do the NOI online course. So fingers crossed Lorimer gives me the code for that. But this comes straight out of the book. So if you want the book, this is what this is. And this is a neurotag model explaining how sensitive it is. They've mapped these. You've got language, context, skin, hormones. There's big, lots of research coming out of Adelaide right now that's saying the gut and microbiome has a massive impact on people's pain. Hormones, inflammation, especially, I don't know, we see a lot of perimenopausal women. Anyway, crazy, really complex system. And instead of it, I have pain in my toe, all of this stuff is happening all at once, all at the same time. The way that they make the complex simple for this is they call it a protectometer. And this comes from all the noise group work on a system that either dials up or dials down pain to try and protect you. I like to think of it like this. It's like, okay, this system is trying to sort of keep you safe. So how much bubble wrap do we need to wrap around your system? If you have increased inflammation, if your hormone levels are off the charts, you don't have great gut microbiome, and maybe you've got a really, like, you're not sleeping, high stress, that then there's going to be more bubble wrap around you and you're going to be way more sensitive to any form of input. And sometimes that's exactly how I'd explain it to a client. So then clients always say, why do my injuries hurt so much? Does anyone have a good answer to this? I'm curious. What do you guys tell your clients? Crickets? All right, I might forget nothing. Maybe that's why you're here tonight. Often I'd say it's your way, or it's your body's way of trying to promote healing, is sometimes how I'd say it. I don't know if anyone else would say it. And there is a massive sensitivity of senses in the nearby tissues for signs of a tissue inflammation. So the more you're in pain, the more sensitive your system is. And that's often because inflammation, that inflammatory soup that we know so much about, makes all of your senses much, much more sensitive. This is an example of all of the inflammation sensors here. Now, this is not like a biology lesson. I just want to show you how complex it is. These guys detect everything. And I want you to go back to uni thinking like light, touch, vibration, hot, colds, oh my goodness. Oh, deep pressure. So this is all of our different sensors. And also too, these are all the iron gates that are more sensitized if it is a more acidic environment, which is often when we've got more inflammation. And it increases sensitivity to everything. It doesn't choose. It just means that these little guys, it's a gate. So it's open, close, open, close. The more these guys are sensitized, the more any kind of input is going to turn on the system. So then the inflammation expands a safety buffer. Now, I don't know how you guys feel saying inflammation is the issue. When I'm saying inflammation, I'm not talking about swelling. I'm talking about systemic inflammation and changes at the ion level, at your dorsal horn, and also in the senses. I don't know if that language is helpful or harmful to clients, but anyway, I'm just giving it for your repertoire so that then you can tweak depending on who your clients come in with, or whoever comes into your clinic. But what we know happens is that this is a normal, healthy tissue. And then after the injury, we get this increased protection. Now, our job as a team is to slowly bring this back up to your new tissue tolerance. Your tissue tolerance is actually pretty cool. It's only a little bit lower, and over time, this tissue tolerance will increase. The reason it's not right up at the top is because, yeah, you have had an injury, and yes, there might be scar tissue and changes, but it still doesn't mean that you need to have pain this far down the mountain. And sometimes I print this off and people will take it home, or I'll get them to draw it out, and I sometimes will get them to write down in here all of the things that might increase their sensitivity or might increase their buffer. And sometimes this can be really fun. Or fun for me. And they might say, yeah, when my mother-in-law comes, my buffer increases, so I feel pain sooner. Examples. But they can kind of come to it with playing curiosity. And the power is, instead of you generating ideas, and like this is like such a didactic spit information at you, it is so much more valuable with adult learning if they can bring to it ideas or themselves that increase this buffer. Does anyone do that in the clinic themselves now? I'll ask an easy question. Has anyone used the Twin Peaks model before to explain pain? Yeah. Has anyone heard of the Twin Peaks model? Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping I can give you a few of these models. Yeah, some of these, like, I find are really helpful. Some of them just depend on the client that we see. This is another one that I've used. And this explains why always pain is trying to protect you from damage. So we know, I don't know if anyone's seen this, like local inflammation happens like days since. And I always think of this as a story. We live along the Great Ocean Road, and there's all these barriers on the fence. This is pre-injury. That barrier there is to protect us from the edge of the cliff. Then the injury happens. Bad. She's fallen off the cliff. That was bad. And so then this inflammation response keeps us here, and it puts the stopper way further from the inside. So if you were walking up to the cliff, you don't get to look over the edge. It's tried to protect you from the dangerous crevice. So then as we go on into healing for tissues is actually very, it's very predictable, but the pain response is not. And that is because our system sensitivity, there's a lot that happens in this bit here. So then we've got this remodeling, and this barrier slowly comes back to where it was in the past. So yes, it's still trying to protect us. It might be a little bit further from the view in the past. If someone's stuck in persistent pain or chronic pain, then often what I would say is your body is trying to protect you from that edge of the cliff, and it's kind of been a bit overzealous. So instead of your barrier being a couple of meters away so you can still see the beautiful view, your barrier is now a few k's away from the edge of the cliff. So it's a long, long way from true tissue damage, but your body is really, really, really trying to protect you from whatever that was that happened happening to you again. I use this one a bit. It's a bit dramatic, but I don't mind it. And a lot of people around our area understand the cliff kind of analogy because they walk there. Now, this bit here, this is what we call allodynia and hypoanalgesia. Now, this happens at any injury. You roll your ankle, it's sensitive and it bloody hurts. It's the same as someone who has persistent back pain. It's sensitive and it bloody hurts because they've both got allodynia and hypoalgesia. Both of these things can be true for both of these injuries. Hence, we're kind of moving, or Pain Rev is trying to get us to move away from noisy plastic pain to nociceptive, because we're trying not to label people with this type of pain, which they might infer is their fault. So anyway, I thought this was quite interesting, and that we've all probably experienced allodynia and hyperalgesia. Allodynia is so increased sensitivity to an unnoxious stimulus, and hyperalgesia is, again, more pain than what you would expect. This is called peripheral sensitization. And the reason it's peripheral is because it happens in days since the injury. Where we call this central sensitization is if this same response happens further back. So this kind of slide or story is to show that all pain is the same. It's just that some people's systems remain sensitive for way longer than what they need to. Again, I don't mind this one. And all pain promotes healing. Does anybody have any questions today? Okay, I am curious. Knowing how complex pain is, my next questions are, if we don't have time and if people have low understanding and they do have fixed beliefs, what are our next set of skills that you guys lean on to actually teach them about this stuff, or what's in your tool bag? And feel free to just type it in the chat or throw it out, like say it out loud. But I'm curious to know what you guys use for your current tool bags in your current tool bag. What I mean by this is I might go through the cup analogy, or I might go into depth and talk about the pain mechanisms model. Or I might not talk about anything and just get someone moving and slowly show them that their function's improving even though their pain's changing the same. That's what I'm trying to talk about. So what what clinical reasoning and what clinical application of skills do you guys use now? I'm mindful everyone might have fallen asleep. I feel like these sessions. Yeah, sorry, go for it. Yeah. Yep. So Jackie's written that yep, try to explain that chronic pain in their brain amplifies their pain response. It's nice. What else have we got? Who was talking then? Sorry.
I use like the DIMS and SIMS model from the NOI group to help. I try to use it to help people try to identify patterns in their own life.
Yep. Perfect. Does everyone know what DIMS and SIMS Claire's talking about there? We can go through those if that's helpful. What other tricks do people have? I'm so curious, Dana, what do you do over in the NHS? Do you have protocols for pain? Maybe not. What we're going to go through the next couple of weeks is, I think it'd probably be better if you started to bring next week one really sticky chronic case in mind. And we're going to fit different models of pain explanation and understanding to these people, which then I'm hoping you can start to explain pain to these guys, see how it lands, get feedback from the group, and then we can kind of alter and level up our skills. I see pain education and treating persistent pain as just the same skill as something like mobing a joint. I feel like when you're more proficient in it and more skilled or have more tricks up your sleeve, then you're way more likely to enjoy these clients and also to actually be effective. Awesome. Monique's written here that you talk about nervous system regulation and it doesn't turn off, and promote activities that are able to downregulate the system. That's really similar to Claire's DIMS. So DIMS are danger in movement, and then things are safety in movement, and they can be smells, sounds, movements, lots of different things that help people dial down their response. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Who here still does hands-on with clients who live in persistent pain? Happy for it to be a yes, no. I can happily write down the first one here. I definitely, I do. There was a moment in time where I thought that it was really bad, but I've gone back to it. Yep. Trickier, those working in public. Sometimes that risk of creating a dependency is a bit tricky. Yeah, hard, Dana. Depends on what evidence you look at. I can give you a few papers that might help. So the way I potentially understand pain deeply So we've talked about like that peripheral sensitization, which generally happens in that acute setting. And then when we look at central sensitization, and this is when we're looking at pain that is remaining larger than our tissue potential damage. So we're getting allodynia or hyperanagesia way longer than those days to weeks after the injury. So we know that peripheral central sensitization can happen at any part of the client journey. Back when I was at uni about 14 years ago, we got told that, oh, you had to have pain for 3 months. We now know that's like absolute BS, and that some people can have a proclivity to have persistent pain much, much quicker than others. So this is the model that I really like to understand, to get to know why people sometimes have sticky beliefs or why pain is so complex. I also use this thing called the pain mechanisms model, and I can share some videos with you guys of me explaining this model to clients, because I feel like this is something that you can generally break down and you can make it quite tangible to the client's experience. Who's the guy with the glasses? He works with Lorimer. My goodness, I've had a total mental blank. Does anyone want to help me out here? What's his name? David Butler? David Butler, thank you. He uses this a lot, and he also likes to write people's pain story. His pieces of paper looks like a scribbly mess, but often he will circle sticky beliefs that are perceptions, behaviors, or even current environment, knowledges, or experiences that he will look to circle to see then if he can slowly go over and unpick them. So has anyone heard of the pain mechanisms model? Click. No? Awesome. All right, we're going to run through this because this is what I want you guys to do over the next week, as a kind of have a crack episode or exercise. I'm going to stop. What we do is we break pain into 3 sections. We don't have a pain signal or pain sensor in our body. It just does not exist. And that is what normal population believe. What we say is that we've got these 5 senses: visual, smell, touch. We've got here pain, which I don't actually think is that helpful, but I think of this as like deep pressure, vibration, temperature, all of those different senses. And proprioception, where's our body in space? So here we've got what we call our inputs. When something happens, if I roll my ankle I roll my ankle, before I get pain, my body has to decide if it's dangerous or not. And this is literally what I'm talking to the client. So the information goes up to my spinal cord, and before I get a response, it decides if I need to dial up or dial down my pain response, which is going to change how I'm behaving, what I'm thinking about my pain, and also to my past experiences and my physiology. So what happens? An input comes into the system. It goes up to your dorsal horn, all the way through your spinal cord, and then into your brain. And then this magic happens, and they call it scrutinization. Still haven't found a word for people who don't understand what that means, but this is when the brain is starting to think. Now, this is not a consciously controlled thing. This happens subconsciously, and it's just your body's way of deciding if this is harmful or a threat that we need to be worried about. It uses things called self-sampling. It looks at your past versus your present. Has this happened to you before? Was it really dangerous? What's your current environment? Is there a fire behind you and you've rolled your ankle, but you need to get your kids out of the building? So that changes the threat level and changes your body's system response to the input. What's your knowledge about the symptoms? If you had a rolled ankle and you were a healthcare professional, maybe your knowledge is different than if you had no knowledge at all and you had a mate who had a really bad work cover injury and he couldn't work for the rest of his life because he rolled his ankle in exactly the same injury. So all of these things, their beliefs, their culture, kind of do a whirligig, and then it spits out these 3 inputs. What perceptions do they have around their pain? People's perceptions, for example, can be this: shit, this is really dangerous. My life's over. So these are all these outputs of thought. That's why we think about perceptions. This is sometimes the stuff that you again were saying before is really hard to deal with because this is the mood part and some of the psychology. And I know as maths clinicians, we haven't learned enough about psychology. So that's the thoughts and feelings part, so perceptions. Then behaviors. All right, for example, if I'm playing a game of basketball and it's a grand final, so the experience is like, I don't know, do or die, or maybe my kids are in a burning house, my behavior is going to change even with the same injury as if I rolled down my ankle on a walk with my husband that I didn't really want to go on. So one setting, I might be limping really, really badly. This is when I go on hikes with my husband. Or if I'm trying to race into a house with the kids, because it is a different level of threat, my behavior might be really different. So with behaviors here, we might see people be bracing, hobbling, not wanting to walk. I don't know, doing weird noises as they're grunting, or like you guys have seen them. They raise their shoulder up and they're like, oh, they make the groan with their voice. That changes their behavior. And then the last thing that our brain decides before someone's even experienced pain is it will change their physiology. So this will turn on their fight or flight system. It'll push out a whole bunch of hormones. It'll flood the area with either opioids. So that's the reason why I can run into a burning building with a broken leg to save my kids, because it'll work out and cover my pain with opioids, or dial down the output so I don't actually experience it until after the fact. Or from a physiology point of view, it'll raise my blood pressure, make me sweaty. I could have a vasovagal, etc. So then it's this rapid kind of cycle. And then the system slowly becomes more sensitized if we've got more of these things as outputs. The more I limp and the more I feel like my world is over, the more my physiology changes and the more my inflammation dials up, the more sensitive these things become, because those iron gate channels that we worked out before will just open so much quicker to less input. And then this vicious cycle continues. So our job as health professionals is to work with the client and go through, okay, what do you reckon is the biggest thing that's going to move the needle? Do we think if we can change your behavior, so we change how you're moving in space, this is generally an example. I might say if we can stop you from bracing when you bend over, or breath holding, or get you starting to bend and touch your toes again. If we change that, we might be able to slowly dial down your pain response. Often this stuff, we can talk until we're blue in the face, but a lot of the time to actually change people's persistent pain, it's easier if we do or show, and it becomes a visceral thing that they can experience themselves. I am going to stop screen sharing and hopefully you can see some of you guys. Does anyone have any questions about that model? Has anyone heard of that before, or that pain mechanisms model? No, I think not.
Yeah, I've heard of it, Jess. I have not been very successful when I've tried to explain it to a client, but I mean, it was like when I first did the Explain Pain course, and then I feel like I haven't really implemented it since.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you learn it in Explain Pain?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like it. I feel like it's better than neurotags.
Yeah.
Neurotags, they explain it as it's an orchestra and they know songs. So an input will happen and then the orchestra will play a song. So that's the output. But often I feel like that's a bit airy-fairy for a client who's like, well, why am I hobbling? Or is this my fault? The other physio I said told me it was all in my head and it's my mood that's doing this. So I could say, oh, well, that physio wasn't wrong, but they probably just missed the mark. Look at how many other things are complex about your pain. But I want to be really mindful. I want you guys to see how you go. Play with these things. This week, I want you to think about one client you're going to see in clinic. Either use the pain mechanisms model, the injury peak. Next week, we're going to go over the cup and the protectometer and potentially the DIMS and SIMS, just so you've got some more stuff that we can sprinkle in your repertoire. And I want you to come back. You can come back with your wins, but I want to know how it absolutely tanked, because I want to be really honest. When I first learned about pain, it actually tanks until you can get that connection with your client and work out what words are authentic to you. Does anyone have a question about that? I'm mindful I don't want to set you guys up for failure, but I want you to be aware that it's not going to be pretty and it'll be a bit icky when you first start. Does everyone have a client in mind that they're going to try this stuff on? Jackie's got one. I could think of 3 for you, Claire. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know who's in my diary for the week though, so I'm not. But yeah.
Awesome. Before we head off tonight, does anybody have any questions at all? That's okay. Dana might be able to practice on the air. Dana, I can send, what I'll do is in the school community, which sometimes is a bit tricky to navigate, I will put a post and I can send some resources that we've talked about tonight if anyone's really curious. Next week, we're going to meet and we're going to go back to Google Meet, which means I'll be able to see you and be able to talk to you, which will be much easier to navigate. And I will email you out the clickable link. And it will also be in the school community. I'll just change the link here so it's a bit easier to navigate than this one. And also, too, it'd be lovely to see your faces. I just want to hang around a little bit. You guys can feel free to go, but if anyone wants to hang on and ask any questions, please, I am here at your disposal until like 8:30. Before you go, is this what you guys thought this would be? I'm really curious.
Yeah, I thought it would be about pain and bring it into consults. I was thinking the clinical Pilates aspect, is that a different course, or I don't know, I remember you talking about the clinical Pilates, or is that linked to this, or
now this
or is that
no, we do have a course on clinical Pilates. That's going to come out in August. But this was kind of like I just had to give back first. So that's why we're doing the pain one first. But for full disclosure, we apply clinical pain education in clinical Pilates all the time. So I kind of feel like they do that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sneaky like nice. You can load them and they can slowly increase capacity while you're just chatting to them about their thoughts and their beliefs, their past experiences with their pain. But that course will be coming out in August the 31st, that one. And that's like a 6-week course. It's a bit heavier. And there's like heaps of content for that one. This is like a little bit light and breezy.
That's good.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Or anything they're like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I totally disagree with everything you said. Yeah, sorry, go for it. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that? Oh. Anyone else have any other questions?
Jess, my one question is the pain mechanisms module. Are you a model? Are you using that in the initial consult with a pain person?
No. 7% of the time.
7%. Okay. Yeah.
No. I'm using it when someone. That's such a fair question. When I've worked out what they want out of physio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually, I'm probably using it more than 7% because my cohort has come and they've potentially read some stuff. Like they've read, I know I've got chronic pain, but I really want to change it. So they're in a different state of change, which is so much different to what was in Barwon or public health. So if someone is switched on, hungry for knowledge, I will go into it. And if they start to give me a few little like nuggets or breadcrumbs, like Hansel and Gretel, if they start to say, oh shit, I've noticed when it's my period, my pain gets worse. Or I've noticed whenever they start to introduce stuff that's not mechanically modulated, like, whenever I get a lot of loss of sleep, I've been really stressed, I've noticed my pain goes up then. Why is that? Or they might say it, I'd say, oh, it's so interesting you say that. This is what the literature shows us. And I'll also landmark or preface the conversation. I'd say, I'm still getting better at explaining this. This might make you really pissed off. And it's okay. And I want you to ask any questions or let me know anytime that this feels different or wrong to what you're experiencing. So I'll signpost it and hopefully by priming, get myself out of trouble before they are like, oh, this girl doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Before they like wipe me off.
Yeah. And if someone says to you, like, I had a scenario recently where I thought I was going okay with explaining some pain, but then the person was like, "Oh, like, do you think this is all in my head? Like, what do you answer to that?" Obviously, no, but
Oh, I'd say, nah, mate. And
yeah,
I'm sorry if that's how you've interpreted it.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
complex. I'm trying to make it simple for you to understand, but that is not what I'm saying. This is,
yeah,
and I will
yeah,
repeat 3 times, this is not your fault.
yeah,
Because a lot of the time they'll come with it like, oh, it's my fault. I've done this to myself.
yeah,
Yeah. But knowing that sometimes I even will stop like that conversation. I'll be like, oh, I'm really curious. How did that make you feel? And have they had other past experiences that's happened to you in the clinic room? And what was helpful or what was harmful for you? So sometimes I'll just dive straight into it, acknowledge it, and try to understand where that came from. Because they've probably heard it from someone in the past that just cocked up the message.
yeah.
Yeah. It happens a lot when people have a low health literacy.
Yes, yeah, well, that was the exact scenario, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really challenging.
Mm.
And sometimes I just, for those guys, sometimes I just ask them directly, what feels safe in your body and what do you think you and I can work on together? So go instead of in the weeds, just all right, let's work on function and action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Does anyone else have any other questions? No. Well done. And thanks so much for being here tonight. I will see you 7:30 next Monday. Cheers. Hey, have fun with your cases. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Jess.